going on, folks? Welcome back to the Film Tangents podcast. Please remember to like the video, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so you're notified every time a new episode comes out. We really appreciate it.
Very much so. But it's interesting because sometimes I think about that. Like this past week, I thought about that. I was like, oh man, there wasn't an episode. And I thought oh, maybe the actual good thing to do is to make a community post. Like we would just write in the community section. You go, hey, no new episode this week. Stay tuned next week or something like that.
I did.
I thought about that today. I was like, maybe did it do that?
Yeah, I did it.
Really?
Dude, I put a ton of community posts. I put community posts like all the time.
Really?
Yeah, man.
I don't know.
Yeah, dude. They're all there. All our listeners are like, wow.
Okay, well, yeah, they listen. They're like, oh, this guy's not paying attention.
Yeah, no, I handle a lot of the social media type stuff. I actually did some housekeeping on our channel the other day. It looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a nice little section for our podcast and everything because we're gonna start having clips going up. Starting, well, by the time this comes out, they will have already gone up the past weekend, I would assume. But so yeah, you guys can look forward to that. They're funny or interesting moments, highlight moments from previous episodes. So keep an eye out for those. Those will come out on weekends and whatnot, so you guys can enjoy those. Maybe have a laugh or two, or just something interesting as we delve into some interesting topics. But anyway, Edward, you had some. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was like, I'm like that deadbeat cousin in the family where it's like, where have you been this whole time? I'm in the family photos.
No, man. No, guys, Edward's give him a break. He's been slammed busy. Everything's
No, they shouldn't give me a break. If this is the thing that motivates them in the comments, then get motivated. Call me out.
Yeah. I always wonder who's going to be the less liked one, out of the two of us. There's always that one, you know what I mean? Like when you want Opie and Anthony, everybody loved Anthony, but no one liked Opie. I wonder if I'm going to be the Opie or you're going to be the Opie.
Nobody likes Opie?
No, there's whole Reddit threads and videos shitting on Opie.
Really? It's funny because I guess thinking of other podcasts, there's that the Two Bears One Cave, right?
Oh yeah, and everyone shits on Bert, right?
Everybody shits on Bert. Everybody shits on Bert all the time.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I was the one who made you aware of that, right?
Yeah, you were. I had no idea.
Every comment, everything that I see with that guy, it doesn't matter where he goes. Everybody's shitting on that guy.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow.
I guess he's the Opie in that podcast.
The Machine, man. I saw him live.
Funny, man.
I saw him live last year,
did.
man. Yeah, he was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean I know I don't think you're that familiar with it, but the podcast PKA, there's 3 guys on that, but Woody's the Opie of that show. Everyone just shits on him. So I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully we could just both be funny. The Anthony of the podcast.
Yeah. No, because there are ones like that. Because as you know, I listened more regularly to Game Grumps, and I feel like for them there was not a most disliked guy. It was rather that both guys were liked, and they just each had they let's say 100,000 people. It was 60-50 or 45. 55 or something, or 60-40 rather. Whereas nobody hated the other guy. It was just some people liked one of them more than the other.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Edward, may the best man win.
But hopefully this is not the case. Because the only thing that I've ever thought about in regards to this podcast, because I don't want anybody to dislike either of us, although you can't help that when you're putting yourself, kind of out in public, and people are just kind of listening to the shit that you say, just when you're hanging out with your buddy and you're trying to make more out of it than just hanging out with your buddy, which is what this
yeah
it's just two friends hanging out. But the only thing that I thought about was that I was like, you know, I thought about that episode of Seinfeld where, what is it? Ellen? Is that her? Is that the name of Julia Louis-Dreyfus?
No, Elaine. Close.
Elaine, yeah. When Elaine starts like she starts like renting movies and she like falls in love with a guy just because of like the movies that he was like in his like recommended section.
Yeah.
I just that's the only thing that I ever thought about. I was like, oh, maybe it could be that people like the movies that I make us watch more than the movies that you make us watch.
Oh yeah,
I
you'd
thought
like
about
that,
that.
huh, Edward?
Yeah, I thought about that. I was like, maybe people are gonna be like, oh man, yeah, next week is an Edward week. It's gonna recommend us something.
Yeah,
I thought about that.
yeah. I like my vision for the podcast is like personally, and I think we hopefully share a common vision for the podcast. Like, I want to get away from, I want to stay as far away as possible from the whole like John Campea type thing, where it's like the shit that Red Letter Media parodies. You know what I mean? Where we're just on here talking about like the new Star Wars and the new Star Trek
Oh
and the
right,
new
yeah,
the new
yeah.
Marvel movies. Like, I want to get away from that, but also not totally all the way in like the cinephile direction either. I want to have like a like if cinephile's on the left and then like John Campea is on the right, I want to be like, I picture our podcast like left of center. I don't know if you agree with that. Kind of.
I do too.
Yeah.
That's a funny analogy.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we share a common vision. That's good. We're headed in the right
Yeah, no,
direction.
but yeah, no, I think that no, that's the way that I think about it too. Because at the end of the day, I feel like at the end of the day, like even when we talk about shit, like we're not fully on that anyway, Because I feel like we're more in the I feel like we lean more sometimes to kind of like the more, for lack of a better word, like pseudo like intellectual discussions kind of thing
Yeah.
than being like fanboys about shit. I guess we're not fanboys about shit anyway, man. Like I hate all those fucking Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Even the ones that I like, I hate them. Like like I've been thinking about like the Spider-Man movie, like the what is it? Far From Home, Away From Home,
Um
Homecoming.
uh
The one that we saw,
No Way
the one
Home.
with Tobey Maguire. Oh,
Homeboy. Spider-Man
yeah,
Homeboy.
yeah.
That's the next one.
That's right. No, I've been thinking about those because I remember that we saw those in theaters, and that movie, in a way, felt to me like the epitome of like a theater experience,
Yeah.
where it was like amazing to see it in theaters. The audience did so much for that experience, and I remember that I gave the movie like a 9 out of 10. I think it still sits that way, like on my letterboxd. And I know for a fact that if I watch that, and I do want to rewatch that movie, like I've been meaning to rewatch that film. I know for a fact that if I watch it again, I'm not gonna rate that like a 9 again,
No.
because I know that a lot of that was just like the theater experience of that film and the experience of seeing Tobey Maguire. Like I feel like I gave the
Oh
movie a
yeah.
9 because Tobey Maguire was in Spider-Man suit again, and that was like so triggering. Like I'm not like a nostalgia like merchant. Like
Yeah.
I'm not like out here like just being like yeah, nostalgia. I haven't even seen like a lot of these like nostalgia fucking shows. A lot of things that people like have nostalgia about, like all these Star Wars movies. I don't even have that with those movies.
Yeah.
But that was the one thing, that was like the one thing that I was like, fuck,
Yeah.
this is my childhood.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. I
Yeah.
agree with that. I've said the same thing where with the Spider-Man No Way Home movie, I feel like if it weren't like, let's say they replaced the two Spider-Men with just as random Spider-Man characters, no Tobey Maguire, no Andrew Garfield, just played by two other actors, and then they had just other random villains that again were not from previous incarnations of Spider-Man, I don't think I would have rated that movie as highly. I think that was like the big draw of the movie for me anyway. So
Yeah.
I definitely would agree with that for sure.
And it's interesting because I got recommended. There's like one of the activities that I did at work, other than working, or other than when I watched this podcast at work. I got recommended, or I listened to it rather. I got recommended a video, and it was like a Zoom call, like between Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Toby. And I watched that for like 10 minutes. And specifically, like I just watched until I got to like the most like viewed part, just to see what people were gathering from it.
Yeah.
The part was that they asked they asked Andrew Garfield. They're like Andrew, like how did you come about being on this movie? And Andrew gave like the most honest like response, and it really seemed very clear like this guy really gave like a really honest response. And he was like, man, I was just waiting to see if Toby would do it. I was like, if Toby would do it, I was gonna do it. And I was like, that's funny, because I was like, that feels like one of those decisions in like that guy's career where it was about the other person.
Yeah.
So I feel like sometimes actors just make careers like about themselves.
Well, yeah, because
it
no
was
one would have really
interesting.
cared as much if it was only Andrew Garfield and not Tobey Maguire. That would have been
Yeah.
really disappointing.
Exactly.
We would have all been fine
And it was
if it
funny
was no
because-
Andrew Garfield. Like that was
Yeah.
icing on the cake, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not trying to be
But
an
it's interesting
asshole,
'cause
I'm being honest.
No, it's true. It's true. And he knew. He was like, if Toby doesn't sign up for this, I can't do this.
Yeah.
It's all on the back of Tobey Maguire. So yeah, it's amazing, man. I love that, man. And the thing with me and Toby is that I don't really love him in anything else.
Yeah.
I love him in like Pleasantville. He's good in Pleasantville. But I don't really love him in anything else other than those Spider-Man movies. So the fact that they could put him in there again, that was great.
I've seen a couple other. Well, okay, so I've seen him in Great Gatsby. Obviously, everyone has.
The Great Gatsby.
Yeah, the Gatsby. And then Death Grips reference.
Yeah.
And then what was the movie? I don't know if it was Pleasantville. What was the movie where he's like helping? He's like the assistant to a doctor or something, and the doctor like does. I don't know if I can say the word. Whatever. Terminations of pregnancy. There, behind closed doors.
I haven't seen that film. No.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't even know the name of the movie. I saw it a long time ago. And then I think that's all I've seen him in. I want to see the movie Brothers with Jake Gyllenhaal. That's on my watch list.
Oh, dude, no, that movie is horrendous. I don't know if you want to see that.
A lot of people.
Yeah, it's horrible.
That movie's like, it feels like that movie's a little controversial. Like a lot of people, some people say it's like good and they praise Toby's performance, but then others have like your view on it. I mean, it has a 3.4 average on Letterboxd. You're in the minority.
What did I give that movie?
You gave it
What did I
one
give that?
star.
Do you see my rating in there?
Yeah, holy shit, man. It's a great premise.
Yeah, it's a horrible movie.
Really?
I mean,
Okay.
if you watch it, you'll see for yourself. Unless you like it, in which case, I apologize.
It's one of those movies that's been sitting in my watch list for ages, man. Just ages.
Yeah. There are movies that I can tell you like for a fact. There's like movies that I know it's like for a fact this is a piece of shit. Like for instance, a movie that is for a fact a piece of human shit is Spike Lee's Old Boy.
Oh yeah. I haven't seen it. I don't think I don't plan to really.
Yeah. But that's like one of those where it's like I know that, like I know that's a piece of shit film. But with Step Brothers or with whatever the brothers, whatever
Just
the movie's
brothers,
called.
yeah.
Not Step Brothers.
Step Brothers is great.
They're just brothers. They're brothers.
Two
Jake
brothers
Gyllenhaal,
in
Tobey
a van.
Maguire. They're two brothers. But for that movie, I can't say for a fact that that's a piece of shit movie. I also haven't seen it in a very long time.
You don't know it's a piece of shit. You just suspect it's a piece of shit.
I suspect it. Yeah. if I put on glasses and I could magnify it, it'll probably say piece of shit. but But because I'm looking at it with my eyes, I can't see it. But when I look at Spike Lee's Old Boy with my own bare eyes, I can see that's a piece of shit right there.
Oh God. Well, we'll see. It'll probably be a while till that's one of those movies that's just destined to sit on my watch list forever. I don't know. We'll see. It's like I'm never gonna get to all these fucking movies. Holy shit. I'll die before then.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah, there's no
die.
way, man. And the new movies, new movies keep coming out anyway. So it's like I feel like when all these movies keep coming out all the time, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so behind. Like I remember that at some point in college, that was like an idea that I had in my head. I was like, every year I'll be on top of it. I know all the great films. I would have watched them. And now I'm like, man, I'm all the way back in like 2020. And I haven't seen like like the best Oscar movies or like the best whatever. I haven't seen any of those fucking movies.
I've touched on it before, but I kind of like feeling behind on. I'm definitely not behind on movies. I mean, I've seen like, almost like 2,000 films. I mean, most films that you bring up to me, I've seen. I'm a movie buff, as are you. But you always, just because there's so many movies that have been made, it's like you said, you just feel kind of behind no matter what, because there's always going to be movies. For every movie that people mention that you've seen, there's also going to be a ton of movies that people mention that you haven't seen. Like this past weekend, 4th of July weekend, like just being at this, birthday party this past weekend, and someone, I remember like one of the guys there was just kept rattling off like movies to me. Have you seen this? Have you seen that? And it was one of those moments where it was just like I kept striking out, like, nah, I haven't seen that one. Nah, I haven't seen that one either. And it feels like, and you want to say to him, I promise I watch movies. I just haven't seen all of these ones you're mentioning. But I kind of like feeling behind in that way, because I love that feeling of just like there's so much more for me to see. Right. I never want to be, and there's always going to be new movies coming out, but even on the backlog, I never want to feel like I'm all caught up and I've just seen everything. Plus, it's there's despite being a film buff, there are better things to do than watch shitloads of movies all the time.
Yeah.
But
yeah. No, it's interesting because for me, sometimes when people ask me if I've seen a movie and I say no, and then I look up the movie that they told me about, it's usually a movie that I would have not wanted to see anyway. Like it's usually some shit movie. Like it's usually some like piece of shit movie. Like they go like, oh, have you seen The Bad Santa's Christmas? It's like, oh no, I haven't seen that. It's like good. Oh, it's great. And you look it up and it has like a 15% Rotten Tomatoes, and it's like, oh geez, I don't know if I'm gonna bother with that.
Yeah.
Good thing I haven't seen this movie.
Oh, I know. And film buffs listening, all the cinephiles listening, all the film buffs, like, you guys feel the same exact way when you're out, and you're with some random ass people, and one of them says like, oh, I love horror movies. You know what one really scared me was Lights Out. That one fucked me up. And you're just like, Paul, you don't want to be smug, but as a movie buff, you're just kind of like, please, like you haven't even, you haven't scratched the surface, man. Like you're thinking scary movies, you're thinking like The Wailing, Hereditary, Exorcist, but, as film buffs, a lot of film buffs come across very snobbish at times, and I try my best not to. I personally don't have the heart. Like some people, man, when I'll say like, oh, I love this movie, and the other person will say, oh, I hated that. That was stupid. Da, da, da. That was shit. Man, I don't have the heart to say that. Someone tells me I loved Lights Out. Dude, I think Lights Out is a piece of shit horror movie. But if someone says that to me, they loved it, I'll just be like, oh, I don't know. I didn't feel quite that way, but I could see that. I'm like, I'm really gentle with people. I
feel like what you're describing, it's like having social skills.
Right.
Because I feel like if you have any social skills, you are not saying shit like that to people. That's a ridiculous thing to say to somebody. Like I know people do, but it's
Yeah.
like if you're doing that, if you're out there doing that, like maybe rethink that because it's not. Nobody likes that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not the way to influence people and make friends or whatever the fuck that book's name is.
Yeah. 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 Right. Dale Carnegie.
Yeah.
That's not how to make friends and influence people. Volume 3. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think my parents did a pretty good job
Yeah.
of socializing me, I would say.
Yeah.
But
But talking about social media, the thing that I wanted to bring up with to you is that apparently, from what I understand, Mark Zuckerberg, it's like making his own version of Twitter.
that's weird, man. What
And
is
it's
it? Is it?
called
It's
like
called
it's called
Facebook. I thought.
Threads. No, yeah, but that's the interesting thing. It's like this like thing called like Threads, and they're just a part of Instagram.
Huh. That's weird, man. Mark
Like if you
Zuckerberg.
look it up, yeah, like if you look it up, all that you see about it is like how news articles are talking about how that's like a potentially something that could like end Twitter.
30 million, man. That's a lot. When did he launch this, too?
Well, the thing about it is that it's like it's just part of Instagram. Like I feel like that's why people are. I feel like that's why they're like kind of like overdoing like the numbers because this is part of Instagram. It's like another section of it where you can basically just tweet.
Okay. That's
I
interesting.
think unless it's like an actual app. I'm
That's
looking this
weird.
shit up.
I haven't used I don't know, I'm like never on Instagram. I haven't posted on Instagram in about 7 years almost, coming up on. The last picture I have on Instagram, I have one because I had to delete all my fucking photos with my shitty ex-girlfriend, but they're all but but so the last photo is just of me like wakeboarding on the lake like 7 years ago, like our first year of
Yeah,
college.
yeah, that's right. I've seen that photo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because all the other ones were just with
that's
my
funny.
either with like my ex girlfriend or just like me like looking young. So like then if I
Yeah,
had deleted all the
yeah.
ones with my ex, then there'd be this one of me looking somewhat older, and then the last one would be like me looking like a skinny little 14-year-old. So I'm just like, ah, fuck, I'm just gonna delete them all except for this one, and that's how it happened. Yeah, I haven't posted
Well,
on
I'm
there
looking at
forever.
it. No, same here. I'm looking at this thing now, and it's called Threads, an Instagram app. And I guess the idea, like, it's literally just Twitter, but it like basically like moves like all your Instagram stuff to that. So like everybody that follows you or whatever, um it's like the same what is it username. So it just basically moves everything over to that. And doing whatever you just tweet. It's just a Twitter version. But it's in that Twitter is like threatening to sue because doesn't Donald Trump like own a version of Twitter that Twitter didn't care about?
Does he? I don't know.
I thought he did. It wasn't it called like something like social, like Truth Social or something?
Truth Social. Oh my god. Um,
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't remember that. Fuck. I guess he got tired of
I'm pretty sure.
tweeting from his golden shitter. Yeah.
Well, because you know that he got banned, so that's why he like
Oh yeah.
went to that other thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
is this thing? Can you see it? It's called Truth Social.
Oh yeah, I do. It's so funny, like guys like
Yeah,
him and
and
Andrew
it's
Tate. They
basically
just
just Twitter. Yeah,
it's funny, guys like him and Tate. Just they hide they act like they have a monopoly on truth. You know, they're like we're the truth, and everything else is bullshit. It's like no,
yeah,
quite the opposite actually. It's fucking weird.
yeah. It's strange, but it does feel like this is kind of like the prime time for stuff like this to come up because of all the shenanigans that are going on in that other platform. Because like with Twitter, um, over the past week, Elon made it so that people could only see so many tweets. Like he made it that if you have a free account, Twitter could only see like 600 tweets, and if you pay for it, then you can only see 6,000. So he like made it so people had like a limit. He created like a limit on that, and then he like updated it, and then he said that it was gonna be 800 for people who are free, 400 if you just made a new account, and then 8,000 if you pay for Twitter. That's how many posts you can see.
Huh.
So basically, like, I feel like because of all the shenanigans that are going on in that platform, and because of what was going on before you were being censored or like booted off the platform, because that was what birthed through social, what was going on before. And I
Yeah.
feel like now the fact that Elon's doing all this crazy stuff, so like great, it's like this is when we have to launch this threads thing because this platform is like crumbling.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I don't know. And he probably has seen that there's like maybe like a decline in the use of Instagram. That's because that app is so boring as it is. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
probably like, what can we do? It's like, oh, let's make it so that you can also tweet here. But yeah, so I don't know, because it ultimately, it just kind of feels like because that app is just crumbling, in real time, and that because of that app is being run by a big billionaire man baby, that it just kind of opened the door to all these clones to come about. After because when we had the last podcast, it was like when that whole like, oh, these guys may fight, which as you surmised, then it's probably fucking never gonna happen.
No.
But it feels like it's like him kind of pushing at him. It's like, oh, now I'm gonna make an app like your app. What are you gonna do about that?
They're so petty, man. They're like these man children that just have like billions of dollars, and they're just like, well, I need to be better than this guy now. I need to be better than my fellow
Yeah.
billionaire. Got to be better than him.
Right.
Just playing with
Because yeah,
billions while people starve. It's so fucking ridiculous. Yeah, all these clones of different social media apps too. It's just like, where's it going, man? It's just
where's it all going?
we're gonna be like we're gonna be living in the internet, man. It's just fucking, I don't know. The amount of time you just walk around, man. You just see people staring at their friggin' phones all day, dude. Just drive, dude. Every time I'm driving, every red light, people are on their phones, man. Every time I'm on the highway, someone's on their phone, driving 2 inches behind a tractor trailer on their phone. Like, I'm like, what the fuck is so interesting? 4th of July,
Dude.
fireworks are going off. People are on their phones. I'm like, what the hell is so goddamn interesting on that fucking phone, man? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, dude, people could be at a 4th of July fireworks show, and they're watching fireworks on their fucking phone. It's like it's like that South Park where Ike is like, instead of playing video games, he's watching people stream video games. It's like, holy crap, man.
Yeah. That eventually became that. It's like, I'm just gonna watch PewDiePie or somebody like stream this. But it's weird because I think the real issue is people driving and being on their phones, because
Oh,
that
yeah.
happens a lot.
Oh my god.
Like
dude.
that, like while I'm driving, a lot of the time when I look to this, like to my right or left, somebody's on their phone.
Oh,
And it's
dude.
the strangest thing. Like on the way home today, there was a person that was, I don't know if they were just like, I don't know what it was with that person. I don't know if they were trying to get some like insurance money or something. There's a person in front of me that just kept like braking. It's like, are you brake checking me? But I was like driving like 4 cars away from that person. Like I was like really far from them.
Yeah.
They're like, why is this person just randomly like braking? And this person almost drove entirely onto like, out of the road. So after that, I was like, okay, they have to be on their phone. Like they have to be, and they're just like, because their car was just like swerving. It's the strangest thing, man.
It's insane, man. Especially in this part of the country that we're in. It's like, dude, the driving is horrific. It's horrendous, man. Dude, I don't get it, man. I don't drive like I don't think anyway. I don't drive like a fucking grandma or anything, like 15 under or anything like that. But dude, I go like the speed limit, 5 over, 10 over, and just fucking, I'm just driving, man. What I don't understand is when I see people either following 2 inches behind the bumper of the car in front of them, or
that's the strangest one.
Dude, or just weaving in and out. My first thought, what I think of every time, it's like, forget, all right, put on the back burner the fact that you're putting other people's lives in jeopardy, which obviously you don't care about, I guess. But it's like, isn't that just fucking exhausting? That's what I think every time. I'm just like, isn't that exhausting to just be weaving in and out, Lightning McQueen the entire damn time? Your heart, your heart rate's got to be jacked. I don't know, man. Seems exhausting.
Yeah.
Seems absolutely exhausting.
I think so. And it's the strangest thing, because it's like always near like a big city, or like when you're like at a city, people just do that. It's just like, oh my God, like, how can you do this? And I've seen like the most extreme versions of that. And it's funny for me because anytime, like I'm always watching, watching like my rear and side view mirrors. I'm very like attentive of like who's around me, who's around me. But I often, like if I'm driving through a big city, I often will see just a car just zooming as fast as humanly possible. I'm like, oh my God, and I'll just say to myself, like, just stay right here. Like if I stay in this little lane right here, this will give this person the least amount of like, because I'm like, okay, they're just gonna swerve around me, So if I speed up, or if I just switch lanes now, this person's probably gonna crash onto me because we're going so fucking fast.
Yeah.
Because when you're going that fast, I feel like you're trusting that all the variables are gonna remain the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you ever had?
Like I'm going super fast, so Go ahead.
Have you ever had a road rage incident, like someone road raging on you really badly?
No, I've not. No.
I had one. I remember one time I was in the car with a girl, and I was driving, and dude, I to this day have no idea what it was about. I have no idea what I did or anything, dude. 1 second, I'm just at a light, and I pull forward, and I'm driving around a curve, and I just noticed this car following behind me, like an inch behind my bumper. And then like every few seconds, it's like that scene in Jeepers Creepers when he's like following behind them and he's like kind of swerving around, when like that. But he wasn't even honking at me. But I was like, what the hell? I like brake checked him too, because I was like, what the fuck you, man, get off my ass. And so then I'm like, this is getting dangerous. So the next light, I just take a right. Dude, the light's green. So I get in the right lane. He comes to a dead stop at the green light right next to me, rolls down the window and goes, get off your fucking phone. I was like, I wasn't on my damn phone. Dude, I have to this day, no idea what he was on about. He looked like he was on meth too, dude. Holy shit. But he was driving like the most suburban kind of house, like, just soccer mom SUV. So it was like,
really?
It was super weird. Dude, I have no idea what that was about to this day. That's the only road rage,
it's strange,
bad road rage incident I can think of.
It's weird to say, but I've knock on wood, since I'm sitting on this table, I've never had one of those. You know, I think about them sometimes. I'm like, oh, that's like strange, and kind of like, because I feel like that puts you on edge, because you're driving these like big vehicles, they can just crash into you. So I feel like that's kind of like an edgy situation.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. Thankfully, I've not been angering other people on the road.
Yeah.
Usually, if somebody wants to go past me, just let them. I'm just like, go ahead. It's like, if you have somewhere to be, you have somewhere to be. I'm not trying to cause no trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go around me, Jeepers Creepers truck. Don't want no.
Yeah.
Don't want to lose my peepers over here. Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah. No, I watched the video. I watched a video recently of like a guy that was like road raging of another guy, and this guy just like, they were like in the middle of like kind of like a city like freeway, and I think they were like stopped at some lights or something. I don't remember what it was, but the guy that was raging, he just gets his car, the other car, he tries to punch it out, but the other guy's car's windows are like like bulletproof or something. This guy just like dude like punches this dude's window like 6 times, like as hard as he could, and the window's just nothing. But that guy was so angry, man. And I was like, oh my god, you know.
Yeah,
And then the dude's wife had to get out of the car and like get him.
Oh yeah. Oh dude, that reminds me. I actually
Yeah.
did have another. There was a road rage incident. It was my dad recently. My dad didn't road rage on somebody. Someone road rage on him. But like we we were driving in well, I won't say the name of the place, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, no one's gonna like stalk us or anything. But like we were driving down near where my sister goes to college, and I can't remember. The guy was we had a U-Haul behind us because we were helping my sister move out of her apartment, and I can't remember. I think the guy. I don't know if the guy was maybe trying to get. I don't know. I think the guy was trying to get around my dad or something, and my dad like honked at him and yelled at him because he was following too close or something like that. But then he like pulls up beside us, and he looked like the most just this like skinny redneck with his driving with his shirt off kid. Like he was like my dude. He was our age. And he had his girlfriend was in the passenger seat. And he like pulls up beside us with his window down, and he's like, you know, waving his arms around. And his girlfriend's like yelling at him, like to stop.
Really?
So then my dad, like we were looking for a place to turn around anyway. We weren't like running away from him or anything. So my dad like turns around in this parking lot, and he like follows us into the parking lot. And so like my dad, then as my dad's like pulling out of the parking lot, he pulls over, comes out of he gets out of the car, and like he's like way far away from us because like I don't know, it was so weird. It was like the most ineffective road rage I've ever seen. So far away from us. The guy gets out of his car shirtless. He's a twig, dude. Like my dad and I would have fucked him up, dude. We would have fucked him up so goddamn bad. He like gets out and like spreads his arms like Gus Fring in that episode where the cartel sniper, like he's just like what, you know, we just ignore him.
There's
People like that, you just ignore people.
There's that episode of South Park where guys keep throwing out their arms like to like provoke each other. You know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
Have you seen that episode?
Is that the one with PC Principle? Maybe I don't know. I can't remember.
I don't know. I don't remember. But it was like one where like Randy keeps like doing that with people, just like raising their arms and be like, "What?"
Oh, really?
But they never fight. They just do that. Yeah.
So a couple weeks ago, I had a recurring dream that I was back working the shit part-time job that I had right out of college while I was during the pandemic when I was looking for something full-time. And that was horrific, man. Like when I woke up, biggest sigh of relief ever, man. I woke up, I was like, thank God I'm not back there. Thank God.
Yeah.
Like, dude, it made me think 2020 was the shittiest time of my life. Like the only year of my life that comes close, and I don't know if you have like a year or two of your life where you look back on, you're like, that was shit. But dude, the only one that comes, there's only one that comes close. It was 2013 when I had this giant like acne blow up, and I didn't talk to another human female outside my family for like probably 9 months. But besides that, dude, 2020 was the worst fucking year of my life. Like, and what made it so much worse, dude, was the fact that we were coming off of senior year of college, and that was the best time ever. Like, dude, that was the best time ever. It was you and me, 2-bedroom apartment, no shitty roommates who were bringing random people in, stinking up the place with weed, like none of that bullshit, man. It was you and me, only screenwriting classes, only cinema studies classes, no crappy liberal arts credits or dumb liberal arts classes, anything like that. Dude, I would write all day between classes, landed a comic book deal to write comic books. Dude, We'd watch a movie every night, our pick, no one bothering us. Every weekend, dude, we'd bar hop, party every weekend. It was great, man.
Yeah.
I was 3 hours away from my stupid girlfriend at the time, who was just finding any way to break up with. You only take a sip of water here. Coming off of bout with pink eye and pharyngitis, so my throat gets ticklish. Yeah, 3 hours away from my stupid girlfriend at the time, who was just trying to come up with any way to break up with. But she was like, put herself in a bunch of shitty situations. So I was just like, I felt bad. You know, I just didn't. I was like, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
Dude, coming out, it was great. It was the best time ever to go from that to pandemic, out of college, world's shut down, don't know what the hell to do. You're gone, right? You left like from my house after we quarantined for all that time. So no more. I'm apart from my best friend now. And I started working a shit job at a freaking shit part-time job at a grocery store. And dude, you know what? I just remembered this too. The worst part about that, I'll never forget this, dude. Walking into that crappy job at this so like, you know, we graduate college, right? World's shut down. There's like no jobs, no one's hiring. And I'm like, well, I need money, so I got to like work part-time. I don't want to be like a massive loser. So I go get this part-time job at a grocery store nearby. And I start working there, and I'll never forget, dude. I walk in one day, and there is standing the store manager, and it's the same store manager that managed the other grocery store that I worked at in high school as my first job. So, dude, think about how shitty a feeling that was at that time. I had just graduated high school, or excuse me, I just graduated college, and I am now going to this crap ass part-time job, and I see, excuse me, and I'm taking marching orders from the same guy that I took marching orders for my first job in high school. Shittiest feeling ever, dude. Oh, that job sucked too, man. The job was like, you know, putting together grocery orders for the Karens of our town. It was so bad, man. I mean, you know, it wasn't the shittiest job I've ever had, but it was shitty. Just that time in life. And then, dude, when I get done with it, I go home. And I'm just getting nagged by my girlfriend at the time. Just fucking, dude, 2020 sucked so bad, man.
That was a rough year.
Dude, it was the worst year ever. But that job sucked, man. I remember there was one moment where, because it was like during the pandemic, and my job was to be a personal shopper. So like I was a personal shopper. So like people would order their groceries and then come pick them up. And I was the guy that would shop for them and then package them up in bags and put them in their car when they got there. So during the pandemic, well, everyone's doing that, right? Because they don't want to come into the store. So, dude, I remember I'd get there, I'd have like a 5-hour shift, and there'd be like 80 orders and like 3 of us.
Really?
So I'd just be like, what the hell is going on? And I remember one time, getting there. I have like an hour left on my shift, and there's still like 25 orders left. And I was like, oh my God, man. And it's like me and one other person. And I think they left before me too. So like they were scot-free, and I had to freaking close up. So I was screwed. And dude, I'm just on the phone with like a bunch of people. Like, where are my groceries? When is it gonna be ready? Do you know when it's gonna be ready? And dude, I remember just being like an inch from just putting that phone down back on the hook and just walking out. But I didn't do it. Like there was that little part of me that just wanted to that was like, be responsible. You just graduated college. You're an adult now. You got a little part-time job. You should be grateful for at least having this during the pandemic. Like, so I didn't do it, but that was a rough time, man. That really was a rough time. But yeah. I've had some shitty jobs, but they were never smack dab like in a shit time like that. I remember. I do not look back on that year fondly at all.
No, that was a rough year, man. That was a rough year for me. That was a rough year for me for sure. I can't recall. Like, I don't think I have like. I mean, I have like horrible stories of that time, but not particularly like necessarily like job related, and more like life related, or like or like circumstances related.
Yeah. It was a rough year, man.
The shittiest thing about that time. No, the shittiest thing about that time for me was job wise is that I was doing this job at the time that it was the first time that I ever had a job, and it was that was a 12-hour job.
Oh yeah, I remember that, the manufacturing one.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I was working in a manufacturing place, and
that sounded like hell.
No, it was
man.
crazy. Dude, it was crazy. The only positive thing about it was that the schedule was kind of like the schedule was a little bit more forgiving, in the sense that the schedule was like, 1 week you work 4 days and then the next you work 3.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're there like every day, working 12 hours, but eventually it got that way.
Yeah.
Because eventually, like by the time that I was leaving that place, it also came to it came to be that me and some friends of ours were trying to shoot a film in Chicago. Shouts out to those folks. They know who they are. I know a couple of them listen to this podcast. So shout out to you guys.
Shout out.
We're shooting a film that still hasn't seen the light of day, but I hope it does. So I think we did good work, even if we had some unfortunate circumstances. But around that time, I was working at this place, and interestingly enough, I had not used like any of my vacation time. I still had all of it, And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go and make this film with my friends, but I'm also gonna get paid at the same time. So I took that time off work. And so I was, it was in Chicago making a film with my friends, and I got paid. So I was like, okay, great. Because while I'm doing this, I also have money going to my paycheck. So I was like, it's not too bad, And so I return, and I've exhausted like all my days off and everything, and I thought I had more days than I did, because also my manager, he talked to me and he was like, hey, by the way, not only have you exhausted like your vacation time, you've also exhausted like your sick time. Like you don't have any time. Basically, he told me, like, you don't have any time
like
left.
You got to be here, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, they're telling me like you have to be here, and I'm like, okay, sure. I guess that's what it is. Gotta live with your decisions. And so I still worked there for like maybe like another month, I think, maybe even more than that. But the thing about that time too is that people were quitting a lot.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that were quitting, or a lot of people, because also what they did at that company is a sly company, because a lot of places do this to people, where they don't hire people, rather they hire people through contracting agencies. So that's how I got hired in that company too. And it took me maybe 6 months to get hired like as a full-time worker there. And so then we got hired, and then that's when I got like my vacation time. So a lot of people were getting hired through contracting agencies. And what was funny is a lot of people would then go up to be hired full time, and they would fail the drug test, and then they would get kicked out. That's what happened, because I had a friend in there, this guy that started like literally the same time that I did, and he was a cool dude, man, and he and I were like, he and I were like a great duo. And whenever we had like time, like whenever we had time to kick the shit in there, which wasn't that often, he and I would always kick the shit and just talk about random stuff. And he, we were all contractors, and I remember they were all thinking like, who's gonna be the first? Who's gonna be the first to get hired? And by that point, in the stuff that I was doing for that company, it was like me, him, and this other woman. It was like the three of us, and this other guy. So it was four of us. So we were like, oh, when we're gonna get hired? We're all just like always talking about it, like pestering like HR. It's like, hey, when we're gonna get hired. And so eventually, this guy, he was the first one, and he came to me, and he came to like all of us, and he was like, "Oh my God, I'm getting hired," and he was so happy. But the thing is that every day while I was working at this place, and he and I would talk, one of the things he would say to me is like, "Oh man, this past weekend, I got high and I was playing video games," and I was like, "Oh man, good for you. That's just, this is what you do, I guess." And so when he told us he was getting hired, that didn't compute, And so eventually, he just never came back.
He knew he was gonna fail that drug test, man. He knew it.
Returned. And when he didn't return, I was like, what happened to that guy? Like, it was like a mystery for me for like maybe like a couple of days. I was like, what happened to him? And then it clicked on me, and I was like, "Oh, that's right," And they like clicked. And then I asked my supervisor, and I was like, "Hey, man, what happened to him?" And he was like, "Oh, he failed the drug test, so he got fired on the spot."
Of course.
So then in my head, I was like, "What a buffoon!"
Yeah.
Because if you know, like he was like it's like almost like him. It was like he was like me, where he forgot, that was like an element of things for him.
Yeah.
But alas, that happened to that guy. And with me, ultimately how I ended up leaving that place was because so many people got fired that we were short staffed all the time.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, then I was working like 6 hours. Like I was working like 6 days out of a week. So basically, I would be there, like Monday to Saturday, and then I'll be off on Sunday, and then I'll be back on Monday. So it was horrendous, dude. I was there every day. Every day I was at that place, and it was like one of those situations where it was like, oh, it was one of the, because these corporations are heartless because they just have you, because they look at you and they're like, okay, you need to work here because you need to make money. And you don't have vacation time anymore, so you need to be here every day. So we're gonna have you here every day, and you don't have any other option. And I was like, oh my God, it was insane at that point in time. But I do remember, because at that point in time, I was like, I don't know why I'm here, because I was like, I'm working at this place, but I've been working at this place long enough where I'm not financially, tied to this place.
Yeah.
So I was like, I have to start working on getting away from here.
Dude, that's the key, man. Build up your savings so you don't have to. Yeah. So if a job gets too shitty, you don't have to live in that fucking hell, and you can just get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
Because a job can be tolerable and turn completely intolerable, just just completely nightmarish on a dime. Like, dude, the company that I just left a few months ago, or the department rather, like, it's a shit show over there. It was like it was so weird. It was like the week after I left, people were texting me like, do they have any more positions over there? Like, do they, like, where you started working? Like, do you have a link? Like, it's really bad over here. Like, they can turn shit on a dime. You got to be ready for that. You got to be able to make the leap or get the hell out of there.
Yeah, no, and that's what it was for that one. And then also I had some kind of family circumstances at the time that made it to where I didn't even like wait. I was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm out.
It's the best feeling.
I just like, and it was interesting because, because at that point in time, that job was the worst,
Yeah.
And I tried not to necessarily like leave because I was like, oh, because I had to leave the country because I had to take care of some family business. And it was interesting because at the time, in my head, I was like, it's probably wiser if I like at least have a job, even if I'm not here, if I can come back and still have a job.
Yeah.
Then maybe work on leaving this place. So I like proposed that to them where I was like, hey, I have this family situation and I have to go, and So I was like, is it possible that I could just have like an unpaid leave of absence? And they basically said no. They were like, you can't leave. If you leave, you're fired. So I was like, I'm
See ya.
done.
Yeah.
So I just quit, you know? And that's like that's like the one job that I've ever been like, okay, um, I was like, I'm out, you know? And it was
Yeah.
funny because I think by that point in time, we had seen what has become like great inspiration for me in life. We had seen what's the name of the movie? Office Space.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, that crap part-time job that I had before I started working after college, before I started working in the corporate world, like big boy jobs, was the movie Clerks inspired me to quit there. That's why that's one of the reasons why that movie means so much to me, because after stewing on it for a few weeks, I was like, dude, I'm exactly like the main character right now, and I need to just leave. I was like, I have to go.
Yeah.
And I put in my 2 weeks, and the next day I got a job offer for a corporate job. It was crazy. It was like the universe rewarding me for having the balls to just cut ties, even though I didn't have another monkey branch to like, you know, swing over to.
Yeah.
But I remember, dude, I put my 2 weeks into that job, at that job, and I lasted like 2 days because then one of the managers, like, fucking, I told you this story, like one of the managers was mad apparently because I left early, because I was always a jackass at that job. Like I would come in, I did not take it seriously at all. Like I would just come in late, you know, because I'd be right. I was working on my writing, man. I was working on my books, the comics that I was writing. So, you know, I'd come in like 10 minutes late all the time, leave early whenever I could, just, you know, just anything I could, like, you know, because those orders would pile up. So I would just rush through them a lot of times just so I could get the fuck out of there, man. And I remember, like, when I had put my 2 weeks in, you know, I finished all my work, dude. I finished all my work and I left. And one of the managers calls me and tells me to come back in. He's like, oh, no, the orders, they're still orders. And I was like, oh, man, well, excuse me. My throat's like so scratchy right now. I didn't care. You know, I knew nothing was going to happen to me. Like at that, but it didn't matter for me. But I didn't want to screw over my coworkers. So I was like, you know, I didn't want to leave them hanging. So I was like, all right, you know, I'll go back in. So I go back in. There's no orders left. So the manager was basically lying to me. So I walk up to him and I'm like, hey, man, you know, there's no orders left. And I'll never forget it. He looks at me and he goes, when you want to leave early, you let us know. And as he said, let us know, he takes a pen and like taps my shoulder with it. And I was like,
that's pretty wild. Yeah.
And dude, I was like, oh my fucking God, dude. I was in shock. Like I was so mad. And I was like, dude, this is the moment I've been waiting for though. Like, cause I would just walked out like stunned. And then I was like, dude, this is the moment I've been waiting for. I didn't even want to stay here for the last 2 weeks. I was just doing that as a courtity. I don't want the money. So, dude, I called them right back and I was like, and he answered. It was the best, dude. It was, dude, for 9 months, I had been fantasizing about quitting this job in spectacular fashion. The manager that, you know, was that freaking pulled the wool over my eyes and made me waste my time by coming back in just so he could reprimand me like a little kid and tell me I can't leave early without getting permission. He answers the phone. So I was like, perfect. And I said, he goes, oh, hey, y'all, this is Bob. I'm like, hey, Bob, it's Jake. He goes, oh, what's going on? And I go, hey, listen, I quit. He goes, what, why? You just giving it up? And I was like, yeah, you're a dick. I just hung up the phone. I was like, dude, you're an asshole. You're an asshole. You knew there were, I told him, I was like, dude, you knew there were no orders left. You made me come back in. That was so fucking rude. And I was super generous by coming back in. I quit. Hung up on him. Yeah. Felt so good. But dude, that's the thing. There's no better feeling than leaving a job you hate, and there's no worse feeling than starting a new job.
No, that is true.
That's the truth.
It is true.
Because that's the thing. It feels so good to leave a job, but then in a couple weeks or whatever, you're just starting a new one, and it's just gonna start all over.
Right.
That's the shitty thing about it. Same with my last job. Like, it just felt so good leaving, and I was like, I get 3 weeks off. I'm got a few weeks before my new job starts, and I'm like, I felt good at first, but then I'm like, yeah, but I'm starting this new one in a few weeks, and it's just gonna start all over again, and here we go.
But that truly is just kind of like the rough part about it. That it's like it's such a momentary, thing. Especially if you leave a place on Friday and then you start another one on Monday. It's like oh geez,
Yeah.
And the worst thing is always like the beginning when you have to do all those trainings and orientations.
Ugh.
And you're just like dreading, like it's like oh man, but it's like at some point like I'm not gonna be doing this anymore. I'm gonna be actually doing the thing, and the thing itself is not very pleasant,
Yeah. Oh.
But doing orientation is also a pain in the ass.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's just like, yeah, I know exactly what you mean, because you feel like well, this is probably better than what the actual job is going to be like, but this still sucks too.
Oftentimes it is. It still sucks. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But it's interesting because every time you start a new job and you're back on the orientation, you're like, oh, here I am again. Here I am with the robotic voices and the slideshows and the little questionnaires have returned.
Oh my God,
the prodigal
dude.
son.
Those are the worst, man. Anyone who's listening who's worked a corporate job knows or any job. They have those in They have those pretty much everywhere though, because I've worked I've worked for Lowe's before, like the home improvement. I've worked at grocery stores. They all have that with the little corporate cartoons. And then there's like somebody saying like, well, choose it's like, what would you do if you see a customer stealing?
Exactly.
It's like A, call the police. B,
fight them.
Yeah, kick their ass. C, do nothing. Or D, none of the above. Select the best answer to move forward. Yeah. It's just like, oh my God, fuck. So
they all
bad.
do that, and it's always like they always say that the answer's not going to be like shared, or like every time for me they always say that the answers are not going to be like disclosed, that it's just like a personal thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is going to be disclosed. If I get an answer wrong, I always go back and just put the right one. It's like, this is actually, it's like, because when you hit the wrong one, it says like incorrect. The answer was B. And like, oh, okay. And then I go forward, and then I go back, and then I go B.
Yeah,
and then I go forward again.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, they're so easy to just like breeze through.
And then at the end of every one of those modules, it just says like, oh, you did 100%. You were great. It's like, of course I did.
Oh no, I know. And then you start doing the actual job, and they're just like, wait, and you like don't know something. And it was in one of those fucking modules that you didn't pay attention to. Yeah. And your manager's like, oh.
Yeah, of course.
you didn't know that? It's like, no. I don't fucking know that. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here, and neither do you, or you've somehow hypnotized yourself into thinking you want to be here. I don't know, man.
Believing it. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Dude, the worst job-wise, just work, the actual work. So not the circumstance that I was in or the people, the people. The worst job I've ever had was the concrete job that you know of.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
oh my God,
I know about that.
So for people listening, when I graduated high school, for 2 summers, or I should say 1.5 summers, because this didn't end well, I worked for an old church friend who had a concrete company. And at the time, he paid me $10 an hour to stand to work in the 99-degree humidity, sweltering heat, pouring fucking concrete, stamping concrete, painting curb, just sweating my ass off, man. And at the time, I was like, oh my God, I was like, $10 an hour, that's great. When you're like 18, 19, you're like, that's awesome. Especially because in high school, I'm making like $8 an hour at a grocery store. Oh my God, dude, it was so bad. It was horrible. Like I'll never forget, dude, just and at that age too, I just didn't care about my sleep or anything. So it was like I'd be out till midnight, 1 a.m. with friends, freaking, just acting like lunatics, and then 7 a.m, get up, go meet this lunatic, Edward, at his mini storage.
Yeah.
Get in his truck. And dude, his voice, it was like, picture, I've done the impression for you before, but picture, it was like Ray Romano mixed with, Don Fry. That's probably a good way to put it. It's like, I would get, oh, it was horrible. It was like us. It was like me, the boss, and 2 other people. One of whom was his son, and the other guy was like like this immigrant guy, great dude, hard worker. Had been working with him for a long time, but oh my God, man, he would just berate me and his son just all day. Like, dude, looking back on it, but when you're when you're a teenager, you just take it, you just take it, but he would just berate us all day. Oh my God. I'll never forget, like, it would just be like, oh, what do you, I remember like we would have a bag. There was like, we would have like these bags of concrete, I remember. And like, oh, this is going to hurt my throat so bad doing this voice, but like we had these bags of concrete. And I remember there was one where I was like trying to get a grip on it. I couldn't really get a good grip on it. And I'm like hugging it, and I'm like trying to lift it up. And it's like falling out of my arms. And he goes, Jake, you're fucking wrestling a bag of cement. Oh my God. I'll never forget. Oh man, I'll just never.
Sense of humor.
Oh my God. He was such an asshole though. Like I remember there was this one job where, dude, it was this house with this long downhill driveway, and then in the backyard is where we're laying a whole patio that goes the length of the house. So we got our work cut out for us. Cement truck is supposed to be there at 9 a.m. Gets there at 11:30. Dude, boss is livid at this point. Cement guy gets there. Dude, cement truck gets there. He's boiling at this point. He's got this, his son is on like this buggy, this like riding thing with a big bucket on the front of it to carry a bunch of wet concrete. I have the wheelbarrow. So I'm just wheeling wheelbarrows full of cement down this giant driveway. He's like, all right, guys, we've already lost 2 hours. Get your fucking asses in gear. We need to haul fucking ass. And I'm like, oh God, dude. And I remember just wheeling these wheelbarrows of cement, of wet concrete down the driveway. And every time, dude, these were so heavy. They were so heavy. And dude, every time I made it down that driveway without spilling the concrete everywhere. Because
Yeah.
Wheelbarrows they're so stupid. There's like one wheel on the end of it, so you have to like balance it.
Yeah.
And it's filled with like 50, 80, 100 pounds of concrete. So I'm just wheeling this thing down this steep downhill driveway. And every time, it just felt like I had a new lease on life that I didn't spill a giant mountain of concrete all over this person's driveway. Like, dude, I was praying to God at that time. I was like, please, this guy is going to kill me. He's going to fire me and rehire me and fire me again in the span of 3 seconds. And I remember, dude, every time I would get to the patio where we were laying, or the area where we were laying down the patio, I would dump it out, and it would always tip midair, so like it would spill like in the wrong spot. And I remember like the third time I did it, I was like, I'm sorry, and he goes, don't be sorry, just quit doing it. I was like, oh, fuck you, man. It was so bad, man. Oh God, it hits like 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. rather. You're drenched in sweat. You're trying to reapply sunblock, and it's just mixing. It's just mixing with the sweat, so you can't even
sweat, yeah.
Oh my God, you're just burning up. Oh, and I remember we get done, and I'm like, I have like a half a wheelbarrow of cement left, of concrete. I keep calling it cement, but it's not. You're supposed to call it concrete. Cement's like an agent in the concrete. But so I'm like, I have like half a wheelbarrow of cement of cement left, and he's like, and I'm like, Mr. Boss, what should I do with this remaining cement? And he goes, the what? And I'm like, the remaining cement. What do I do with it? He goes, dump it out in the fucking woods. Dude, he was such an asshole. To this day, I hate this guy. I get so angry when I think about him. Oh my God, I want to punch his stupid face so bad. Additionally, I'll never forget the time we're out there 8 o'clock till noon laying down concrete for this other customer. We finish at like noon, right? 12:30 maybe. We pack everything up, and we're about to leave. We're home free, and then all of a sudden, boss comes out of the backyard, walking toward the truck. I'm like, we're about to go, right? He goes, guys, we're not finished. Dude, there was apparently a whole other patio that we had to do. We had to unpack everything out of the trailer and go do a whole other patio. And while we're laying down this patio, there's like the homeowner and his friend, I shit you not, dude, they're sitting on their back porch drinking lemonade in the shade watching us. And the whole time they're just like, oh, hot enough for you fellas? I'm like, oh my God. Like, dude, fuck you, man. They
at least offer you guys some lemonade?
No. They did not, Edward. No lemonade was offered. Oh God, dude.
Had enough for you fellas? That's pretty funny.
Oh my God, man. Oh, man. I apologize to the listeners. I'm coming off of I got tested negative for strep, but it felt like strep, so I'm having some issues with my throat getting scratchy. It was horrific. But I remember that second summer, I quit halfway through. I was like, dude, he was even worse the second summer, just swearing up and down, just swearing every day. And it got to the point where I couldn't even do the job anymore because I was so afraid that he was just going to start yelling and swearing. And I was so afraid that he was going to start swearing or like getting angry that I would like, dude, you'd be like doing some work and he'd be like, get the hell out of my way. I'm coming through. Get the fuck out of the way. Like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, it was like, dude, walking on eggshells. And it was so bad that I would start doing the dumbest shit. The dumbest shit, Edward. Like, just out
of like the sheer anxiety out of it.
Yeah. So, for example, I remember one time we finished up at this one job site, and I'm like, it becomes self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm like, okay, I don't want to make the boss mad. Like, I got to do everything right. So, like, I'm packing up the trailer. This is how anxious I was. It turned me into a fucking idiot. So, like, I'm packing up the trailer. There are buckets that are half full of water, and then there's like plastic wrap, kind of like in Dexter or something, that we would use to like lay down to like so concrete wouldn't get everywhere, so it would just spill out onto the plastic, right? And we'd reuse it. So I, in my infinite wisdom, instead of dumping the water out of the buckets, I took the folded up plastic and I put it in the water, in the buckets, and then put the buckets still filled with water and plastic in the trailer. And so that's how anxious I was. I just like didn't want to do anything wrong. He mind fucked me to the point where I was like, he might need the water for something. Dude, sure enough, like 10 minutes later, he comes over and he's like sifting through the trailer, and then he like kind of looks down. And he's like, what the fuck? He like bends over. He like bends over. He's like, what the hell is this? Like bends down. And he like sees one bucket of water. He's like, what? Why the fuck would we? What? And then he gets to the second bucket and he sees that one's filled with water, and he goes, fucking really? He's like, Jake, why the fuck would we need all this fucking water? Why the fuck would we need the water in the fucking buckets? I was like, I don't know, man. I just want to go home. I just don't want to be yelled at. So, oh my God. And I'll never forget, dude, my last week there, just, I was like, okay, I have this week. And then the following week, my family and family friends of ours were going on a cruise. So I was like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to finish up this last week. I'm going to collect my $200 for the past few weeks. And I'm never talking to this guy again. So, dude, I'll never forget. He goes, like, the last day, he goes like, Jake, you want your check? And I'm like, yes, please, I would. Writes me that check. Thank you, sir. Left. Blocked his number, dude. Never. Didn't even. Didn't even quit. Didn't quit. No text. No heads up. Just blocked his number. Never talked to him again. Because I'm like, dude, you've been swearing at me, yelling at me, being a douche. No. Done with you, man.
Man, so you didn't even quit.
No. I ghosted. Oh, God.
Okay. But, dude, those fucking stories were fucking hilarious. But for the audience, we'll have many more work stories because these things are infinite.
Yeah.
I mean, they're infinite.
My construction days will really get you. When I worked for my uncle. My uncle was a contractor. Yeah. Right after the concrete guy, I worked for my uncle in construction, contracting. Those, dude, some of the funniest shit ever. But, not quite as miserable. My uncle didn't swear as much, so that was good.
Yeah. And your uncle didn't have a voice like that guy. No. His voice hilarious.
Oh, God. My throat hurts so bad from doing it now.
That's one of the funniest voices. I wish I could meet that guy. Just to hear it, like, in person.
Oh, my God. If I meet that guy. Did he ever what?
Go ahead. Did he ever send you, like, a voicemail that you might still have or something like that?
Oh, no. I doubt it, man. I don't think so. No, I doubt it.
Pretty funny.
How far back do my voicemails go? Deleted messages.
It depends.
Maybe?
If you have a new phone.
Deleted messages, blocked messages. No, dude. Oh man, if I wish I did, because I had voicemails from him. Like, oh Jake, it's it's the boss. I'm actually gonna need you on Wednesday, not Tuesday.
Yeah.
God.
That's pretty funny.
Oh my God, dude, my sore throat's gonna come back just from doing that, so I have to stop.
Yeah, no, you gotta stop doing that, boys. It's too funny, man. But how about we move into a brief film segment, and then we'll go into the film of the week.
Sounds good, dog.
Recaps.
Let's do it.
But something that keeps coming up. It's like the number one thing that I see everywhere when I go to like social media regarding like film, and it's the big head-to-head of the Barbie movie versus Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer film. Have you been seeing these things?
No, that's a weird versus.
It is, but the funny thing about it is that it's happening because both films are coming out on the exact same day.
Huh.
They're coming out the same weekend. They're coming out
Oh,
like the
okay.
20th, like July 20th. They're coming out.
Okay,
So
okay.
they're pitted against each other. And in that head-to-head of the Barbie movie versus the new Christopher Nolan movie, which one do you think is going to come out on top?
I mean, unfortunately, I have to think the Barbie one, box office wise. I mean, I
Yeah,
think that's it's probably going to do better. I don't
yeah,
see any reason why, because Barbie is like an established IP, and those movies just
hmm
always rake in massive freaking profits. That's why they keep making them.
hmm
Whether it's
hmm
excuse me, sequels, remakes, reboots, whatever. Those are the big money makers. So that's it. Totally, that's gonna blow Oppenheimer out of the water.
Well,
I'll be
that's where my
seeing
head has been, because
Oppenheimer if I were to see,
of
if
course,
I
yeah,
if
yeah,
I had to pick one of them to go see in theaters, I'm seeing Oppenheimer. I would like to see Oppenheimer in
yeah,
theaters, possibly.
yeah.
Excuse me. I definitely want to see
You
Insidious.
really that voice really took you out, man.
Yeah, you might need to take the reins on this podcast a little bit. I'll do as much as I can, but but
That took you out.
yeah, I was already
Yeah,
suffering a little bit before that. Cause like I said,
yeah,
I got tested for strep throat last week and everything, so I'm like just now, like my pink eye's gone and my throat just started feeling better yesterday. And I'm
yeah.
in, I'm
So
in,
time.
yeah, and I work in sales, like corporate sales, so I'm just fucking talking, yapping all day. So
Yeah.
yeah, my throat, yeah, my voice just gets hammered, but um, I mean, yeah, I'll be seeing Oppenheimer for sure. But
Yeah.
Barbie's gonna
But
win
that
that
that's
that
that's
battle. It's gonna win the box office battle.
no, exactly that. That's where my head. That's like where I've been with that head, because people want to like people keep like bringing it up as if it's gonna be something bigger than it is. But it's like no, it kind of seems a little bit clear. Because Oppenheimer is kind of like this nebulous thing, where it's like even the name of the film is like okay, like what is that about? Because like if he just named it like the atomic bomb or something, at least it would have been like okay, that seems a little bit more marketable than just naming it the last name of the guy.
Yeah,
Um, But yeah, I'm like, yeah, no, it's probably gonna get blown out of the water because like you said, it's such a big IP. People keep hyping it up, and and Mattel themselves believe that it's gonna be big because according to the movie news that I've seen, they already have quote unquote 45 movies that they're working on pre-production for based on their properties.
holy shit! How many? What the hell does Mattel have besides Barbie? Because they're not Transformers, right? That's Hasbro, I think.
I think that is Hasbro.
Mattel.
But they have a lot of shit.
Yeah, what? Let me see. Barbie, Hot Wheels, Fisher Price. Oh, so they have all that Little People, Cabbage Patch Kids crap. Oh, they're the second largest toy maker in terms of
Yeah.
revenue after the Lego Corp. Barbie
Yeah,
and
because they
Hot
because they even
Wheels.
own Uno, and I know there's like an Uno movie in production.
What, dude? They're just like coming up with anything. I mean, what in the world could possibly be in an Uno movie?
I
It's
mean,
like,
literally in the news it just says that it says there are 45 more toy films to come. So they're gonna take over. They're like, this is what it is now. We're gonna make movies based on all these toy properties.
wow, look at that. With the purchase of international games, creators of Uno and Skippo, over the next decade, the company would purchase Fisher Price, Tyco Toys. Oh wow, they acquired. Okay, so now they own Polly Pocket. I remember those commercials.
Yeah, 'cause it says here that they're gonna be making Masters of the Universe, Hot Wheels, Barney, Polly Pocket, Major Matt Manson or Mason or whatever. They're gonna be making a Rock and Sock'em Robots movie, an Uno movie, a Magic 8 Ball movie, American Girl movie, Viewmaster, Chatty Cathy and Betsy Wetsy or whatever, Thomas the Tank Engine, Big Jim, and Matchbox.
Wow. Yeah, I mean,
They're making all this bullshit. Nobody cares.
shit, Matt. You said Masters of the Universe. That's He. Excuse me, He-Man, right?
Yeah.
Damn, bro. He-Man. That that might be kind of interesting. Those were kind of fun, man. The He-Man cartoon, that was kind of cool. Skeletor was the shit. Skeletor was cooler than He-Man, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That all seems like a bunch of shit. I mean, that all just sounds like hype. I doubt they're going to be making all those movies. I mean, who's going to watch all that?
I don't know, man.
Who's going to watch all that? It's probably more like those movies are going to be coming to like Netflix or something, or they're going to be like a bunch of like animated movies. But now that they're like making like a bunch of like live action films, like the Barbie movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. They're pushing a lot of shit on the people these days. They're pushing a lot of shit on us.
Yeah.
It's nuts, dude. Did you hear that? I heard this one thing actually in the film world that apparently like I think it's says Warner Brothers / Discovery to let AI decide which films to greenlight. Did you hear about this?
What is this? Yeah, I heard of that.
Honestly, though, what I thought about my first thought was, is that really any different? Is it really going to be that much different than some Suit greenlighting films? You know, like some Suit being no, because like, I have 500 pitches. Robots. Yeah, they're exactly they are. I mean, they're already robots. Yeah, they're bureaucrats. I don't respect them. They already are. Yeah, like how's that different from a Suit sitting there looking through 500 pitches and being like, oh, that one, you know, and just kind of whittling it down from 500 to, you know, to 2 that they ultimately greenlight and 1 that might become successful. You know, it's is it really that much different? I don't think so. Plus, at least then you could kind of maybe figure out what the AI likes and then pitch that.
Right. Yeah, like people can like work it and be like, what does that thing keep greenlighting? Oh, those kind of movies. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be like a big fucking game of poker where you're just like, what you know, what cards keep popping up here, you know? What are the patterns that I'm noticing? You know? It'll be like that. Yeah, I don't think it'll I don't think it'll be too bad.
I don't think so, but it feels like we're just kind of moving more and more towards this like, you know, just like fully just AI reliance bullshit, you know. Yep. Like it just feels like that's like the way that things. I feel like all these things are just like a bad omen for humanity, you know. Like the more that we remove the human from the whole game of it all, you know. So I don't know. I don't know what's in the future for us, but as it goes, I guess we'll see. But if we can benefit from it, then maybe it's not too bad. If we can benefit from it, if we can be like, this is how this works, let me do this. Let me pitch a movie to ChatGPT and see what it says, and maybe they'll pitch that to Hollywood and get greenlit. This will be my easy way in, my easy way to making movies.
Yeah, ChatGPT is like, as an AI language model, I think your story is absolute shit. I've actually, you know, dude, it's interesting. It's interesting, dude. I've actually spoken with ChatGPT. No, I've actually been doing some stuff with ChatGPT, like giving it basically like, you know, my story premise, and then being like, hey, what are some ideas that you have about this aspect of the story? You know, like what are some conflicts like that these two characters could be coming into specifically that would lead them to this point, you know, and, you know, it spits out some pretty interesting ideas, man. I'm not going to lie. These AI chat tools, they're useful, man. They're super useful.
Yeah, so you've been putting that thing to work.
Yeah. I've only scratched the surface with my writing. I think I've only done that like once, where it's like, you know, I'm like, hey, you know, like I have this story, and, you know, I'm looking for like this to go down. What are some ways we could get these characters from A to B? You know, like what are some, you know what I mean? Like very, very like bare bones plot, like really specific stuff. And yeah, it's kind of useful for that, man. Just the access that we have to like not only information, but also just assistance. You know, whether it's like, hey, I need to look this up on Reddit, or ask people on Reddit, or ask ChatGPT. I mean, you know, we can get stuff done in the blink of an eye these days. which
Yeah.
I don't know. It just makes it even more stupid that we not to harp too much on the work thing anymore, but it's just like, do we really need to work 40 hours? Like, we can get shit done like that. You know, it's like, fuck, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like there's jobs that do require shit like that, but it's like there's certain jobs that just don't.
Yeah.
There's certain jobs that it's like there's no need for this. There's no need to be like, oh, I have to go Monday to Friday and do this. It's like, I don't know about that, man.
Yeah.
The future is a 1-day work week where you work Monday. Monday has to remain. You work that Monday and then you're off the rest of the day.
Dude,
That's how it should be. That's what it needs to be.
That reminds me of a CoffeeZilla video on YouTube that I saw recently. He's the guy who exposes all the fake gurus and stuff, and he was exposing the worst fake guru I've ever seen. We can dive more into it another week, but for anyone who's interested, Adrian Grushka, which the name is just even horrible. Dude, looks like the biggest douche on the planet. Like, dude, his videos and his dumb wannabe Ty Lopez videos make me, like, my first thought after a couple minutes of watching him was like, if there was a purge, I would spend the entire 24 hours trying to find him just so I could hit him as hard as I fucking can in his stupid face. Like, that's how infuriating he is as self-help as one of those like fake gurus. But he had like a little product that he was pitching where he's just like, oh, you only have to work 1 day out of the week and the rest of the days you'll be free to do what you want in life. It's like, fuck you, man. But anyway, that just made me think of that.
Yeah.
God, he's the worst.
Yeah.
I'll have to dive into that more on another week, another episode.
Yeah. But then that being said, how about you and I do a quick recap of what we've seen the past 2 weeks? What do you got?
You actually go first. Let me rest my voice a little bit more here.
Okay. I saw a couple of movies actually since we last did the show, and one of them
I don't believe
was
it.
Well, you should believe it, because one of them is a film that I've been meaning to watch for a very long time. So I saw Scorsese's Casino.
Oh, it's a good one, right?
Yep. Yeah, so I saw Casino, but this is what I have to say about Casino. I'll talk about it briefly because it is a great film ultimately, but Casino, it's one of those films that feels like it's like the truest definition of this is just Goodfellas again.
Yeah.
Like, it's the truest definition of that. I mean, Joe Pesci plays the exact same character in that film. I mean, this is the exact same character that he plays in Goodfellas.
Yeah.
And he goes down the exact same way, you know. So it's like, so that movie just like highlights so like hardcore, like you know, Scorsese has a penchant for a certain kind of stories, and this is that, you know. And also The Irishman is Casino, you know. It's like Goodfellas is Casino, and The Irishman is Casino, and Mean Streets is Casino, and you know, like all of these movies are all the same movies, you know, they're all the same. So that's the thing with Casino, and it's too long, but it's still like a great film. But it's truly just like a Scorsese inception of a movie, where it's like, haven't I seen this already? I've seen this, you know. And I watched a great kind of car chase, like road movie called Vanishing Point. From I think it's like the 70s or the 80s, it's like the 70s, I think. Great film, really fun, really great car chase scenes in that film. So I saw those two movies, and both great movies, obviously, but a little bit sour with Casino just because I just felt like such like, okay, this is just the same thing again. And on the other hand, I listened to one of your favorite rappers of all time, and I know that you're probably looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah,
because I listened to most of the discography of the rapper known as Game, or The Game.
The Game.
So I listened to him. I listened to the documentary. And again, I'll go briefly about these albums. I don't really have much to say, honestly, about The Game. The documentary is great. It's long. It's 18 fucking tracks long, but it's great.
You talking about the first documentary?
Specifically, yeah, the very first documentary. Okay. It's great. West Side Story with 50 is great. Dreams. Hate It or Leave It or Love It with 50 Cent's great. Higher is great. I don't like How We Do. I never liked How We Do.
No.
Um,
I like Where
Let me
I'm From
see.
with Nate
Church.
Dogg. That's one of my favorites off that album.
No, that's great. That's such a great song. And Special too with Nate Dogg. Nate Dogg's amazing.
Oh
Don't
yeah.
Worry with Mary J. Blige is great too. This is
Like
just
father, I like
We
Father
Ain't
Like
with
Son. That's a good one.
We Ain't with Eminem. I didn't actually like that one because like the game is like doing such an Eminem impression that it bothered me. But the hook is
Yeah.
right and Eminem is alright in it. But this is a good album. Good album. Solid first album. He went number one with it, and it makes sense. Like it was really good. And 50 Cent was like an MVP. I was sad that him and 50 fell off because 50 was like such a great album.
Mhm.
But that's a great album. It's like a 7, 8 out of 10 for that album. Listened to Jesus Peace, the 2012 album. This is like the fourth album, I think, because I skipped the Red album and I also didn't listen to like Doctor's Advocate. I skipped those two albums. So I was like, I'm not listening to these. The covers are weird and forgettable. I'm not bothered. But Jesus Peace with Kanye is a big highlight of that album. See No Evil with Kendrick was great. Name Me a King with Pusha T was great because those guys are always great, and it's great listening to Kendrick like before he popped off.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, and that was like a big thing that I thought about with Kendrick because it feels almost like Kendrick took over the place in hip hop that the game thought he was going to inhabit. It's like
Yeah.
he thought. It's like I'm gonna be the king of hip hop, When people think about like who's the best rapper out there right now, they think about me. And it's funny because Kendrick, who came out of the same fucking label, took that. He was like, actually, that's me. I'm the guy now,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
fascinating. Especially because on the documentary, the first one, the documentary 2, there is a song in that album that also features Kendrick. I'm trying to find the documentary 2. And in that song, he talks about how he's the best, and that in hip hop it's like him first, and then Kendrick, and then the other guys. And I'm like, dude, little do you know, little do you know that's not the case.
That's the
And it
song
feels like he
On
was
Me,
trying to
right?
maybe,
On Me with
yeah,
Kendrick
yeah,
Lamar.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good
yeah.
one.
And it feels like he was trying. It feels like he was trying to like to be like, yeah, it's still me. It's I'm the game, but it's like I don't know about that, man. Um,
The game.
but
I will
that
admit. I mean, he's one of my favorites, but in terms of hip hop and respectability and everything, he inhabits a similar lane to a Rick Ross, probably,
yeah,
or a
yeah,
2
yeah,
Chains. Like just very
yeah,
kind of. He's like a mid Carter. If we're using like a
yeah,
wrestling terminology,
yeah.
like
Absolutely,
he's not
absolutely.
in that top echelon with like Kendrick and Kanye, and
Yeah.
he's
But
not
it's
up there.
interesting because he thought he was. Thought he was. I feel like the first documentary selling so many copies like made him think like I'm gonna be, the next Jay-Z.
Yeah,
But he really wasn't because all his albums after that didn't sell as well. Even though he's a great rapper, he picks great beats. The
yeah,
worst thing that I have to say about the worst thing that I can say about the guy is that his hooks are really bad a lot of the time. Like a lot of the time his hooks are really bad. And I feel like that's what helped the first documentary because 50 was like doing a lot of the hooks, and 50 has like a really cool voice to be doing like those hooks.
yep,
And like I think he thought that he was going to be able to live up to like the results. But that's the number one thing that I observed about him, that it was like, man, a lot of the time this guy's like really delivering like when it comes to rap. Like he's like rapping really great double entendres, like really good like rapper. There's like nothing to like say about that guy. He's like not even corny most of the time. But the problem with him for me was always that his hooks were ass. And I was like, man, you're doing great rapping and the beats great. Especially the 1992 has amazing beats.
oh yeah.
Um, and the song "Fuck Orange Juice" is great because it's really about OJ. Um, "Baby You" with Jason Derulo, that's great.
I love that
92
song.
bars, "All Eyes," "What Your Life Like." Like he has great songs in here. But other than like the big hits on his albums, a lot of the time the other songs have a great beat, great lyrics from him, and then horrible like choruses. And that's like the that's why I feel like also he didn't end up being as successful as he could have been because I don't think he's a good hook writer. I think he's a good rapper, you know. Um, but that's my retrospective on the game. A guy with a solid discography, really great songs, really bad at writing hooks.
Yeah. I could see that. I'm gonna tell you what. I mean, the song off documentary 2, "Summertime," will always be like one of my favorite
Oh,
rap
that's
songs
such a
of
great
all time.
song. Yeah,
So good, man. There's
yeah.
just like this weird. There's just like this. Just this feeling of that song. There's just a really grim sort of. What's the word I'm looking for? Nihilistic sort of tone in that song. You know. Just about that the violence in the hood during the summer when because that's a little known fact is violence actually goes up during hotter months. That's rappers a lot of times will mention that. That's why what's that schoolboy song when he's saying staying in because it's summer. Yeah, that's bitch shit or whatever.
Yeah,
Because it
yeah,
gets hot,
yeah.
when it gets hot,
Yeah,
people
yeah,
are more violent and agitated and shit.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
it's God, I love that song. Documentary 2 will always be like one of my favorite rap albums. Both
That's a
discs.
great album. But the funny thing is that initially I had thought that the 2.5 was supposed to be the better one, but the 2.0 is the better one.
You think so?
I think so. I think the first documentary is better than the second documentary.
You mean the first disc of documentary 2?
Yeah, the first disc. Because
Okay.
I'm looking at it like split as like documentary. Yeah, because there's like one that has like two flowers, and that has like both albums in it. But
Yeah.
when he released them, they were first the documentary 2 and then documentary 2.5, and they came out like a couple months away from each other.
Yeah.
And I do think that the documentary 2 is the better one of the two.
I gotcha. Yeah, it's tough that you can really mix and match them. It's hard to say that one's for me. It's hard to say that one's better than the other because like documentary 2, side A has Don't Trip. That's a good one. Dollar and Dream. I like that one. Summertime, obviously.
The
Bitch,
Dream is
you ain't
amazing.
shit. Bitch, you ain't
Yeah.
shit. That crazy
Yeah.
song.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Moolah with Kanye West.
That's a great
100
song.
with Drake. That's a classic.
That's a classic. Yeah.
L.A. That's a fun one. I like that one.
Yeah, but the thing about the second part, like 2.5, is, and it's funny because I think you and I had a misunderstanding because I think I said to you that I think what I was trying to say to you is that the latter half of documentary 2, like the first one, was better than the first half. Like the last 10 songs are better than the first 10 songs, meaning that I like
Okay.
Dedicated and Summertime and Moolah more than I like On Me or Step Up and stuff like that.
Oh, so when we
But
were
I
saying
do think
side
that
B,
documentary
I
2 is
think
better.
you were thinking the second
Yeah,
half of side A. I gotcha.
yeah. Yeah, because for me, like I didn't like it's cool that Anderson Paak's in documentary 2.5, but I don't think he adds that much. Like I didn't like Crenshaw and I didn't like Magnus Carlsen. Like I didn't really vibe with those songs.
I
Like
gotcha.
I liked Quick's Groove. I didn't like the skits. El Chap was a
Nah.
horrible bonus track. So it's like
Oh, that was a
there
big
was
hit
that.
when that came out, man. In high school, we were
Oh,
all
I know it
bopping
was,
that
but
one.
I know it was, but that's a horrible. It's a horrible song.
You think
Um,
it's horrible? I don't think it's.
but
I don't think it's.
I think it's horrendous. I
It's
couldn't
not
listen to the whole
great.
thing. I listened to like 75% of it, and I'm done. I can't listen to this.
I Yeah, side B. I love. I like the Ghetto from Adam is a great song. Quick's Groove, Up on the Wall is probably my favorite off side B with Ty
For
Dolla
me,
Sign.
for me, for me, it's Up on the Wall and Quick's Groove, and then from Adam.
Yeah.
It was sad because I felt like he misused Anderson .Paak. I didn't like those songs.
Okay, I got you. I don't remember Anderson on that album too well. I got to go back and listen again, which I'm actually making
Yeah.
my way through Game's discography right now.
Yeah.
Because I'm going back through all my top 5 MCs and sort of like reevaluating. The Game is the only one that I feel like I might have to swap out for probably Freddie Gibbs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I put him in my top 5 in high school, but a lot of it's like, you change, you grow. I mean, I'll always love the Game, but
Mm.
But other artists.
But
come
what you
along
got?
and- yeah.
What's
So
your recap? Or-
yeah, so I'll get into it as best I can here without blowing a gasket here. So my recap. I actually went to a concert. Was it last week? Yeah, it was last week. I saw live musical legend, musical genius, Herbie Hancock, live and in person. And
that's right. That's right.
that was awesome, man. That was amazing. Herbie Hancock's the man. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a huge jazz fan. I love jazz music. Excuse me. Herbie Hancock's the man. And that was one of the best concerts I've ever been to, man. That was one of the best concerts ever. Amazing, just psychedelic
that's
experience. Awesome. Yeah. He's so great too. He's just got such a great sense of humor, the way he interacts with the audience. Oh, he's the man. Like when he started up, he introduced himself, talked to us a little bit, made some jokes. And then he's like, well, he goes, I don't know if it's I don't know if it's because I've been watching all these dinosaur shows lately or what, but he goes, but this keyboard here, it's got some creatures in it, so we gonna let them out now. He started playing. He was the man. Awesome. I can't. I hope I get to see him again because he was amazing.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And then on the film side of things, let me just pull up my letterbox here, ladies and gentlemen. Give me a moment. So on the film side of things, since kind of quite a bit. So just to kind of run through it, I mean, the new season of Black Mirror came out recently, right? And man, it was not very good. I did not care for it. Yeah, there were 2 episodes that I thought were pretty good. So there were 5 total. There were 2 episodes that I thought were pretty good. Joan is Awful. That one was good. That was basically about a woman who finds that her life is being documented by a streaming service by an AI. So like an AI is creating a show based on her life. So like all of her private just shit is like being broadcast to everybody. That was very interesting.
Like the Truman Show.
Exactly. It was sort of like that. It had a very just bizarre interdimensional cable feel to it, like Rick and Morty. It was a really interesting episode. And then the other one with Aaron Paul, Beyond the Sea, that one was good.
Yeah, I've heard that. I heard about that one.
Yeah, that was a good episode. I thought it could have been better though. I think there were a lot of cliches in it, a lot of just very predictable moments. I saw, I definitely saw the ending to that one coming as not as like a definite, but as a possibility. Running the possibilities for endings through my mind, there were like 2 or 3 possibilities, and one of those ended up being the ending. And I was like, yep, pretty much expected that. So it wasn't anything phenomenal. Like I recently, after watching the new season, I rewatched the White Christmas episode with John Hamm. And I'm like, man, it hasn't been this good. Like this is peak Black Mirror. I mean, it's one of the greatest. I mean, for me, that's the best episode of Black Mirror. That was its peak. White Christmas, profound piece of art, profound piece of cinema, profound piece of science fiction. And they haven't reached that point again, I don't think. And then the other episodes were crap, just absolute crap. Lock Henry, totally forgettable. Maisie Day, crap. Maisie Day is like a Maisie Day and Demon 79 are those 2 episodes. They're both supernatural horror. They're not even Black Mirror episodes. They both turn into supernatural horror episodes, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? What the hell are you doing? This isn't Black Mirror. What the hell's going on? So with those, and they weren't even good, by the way. If they were good supernatural horror, I maybe could have gotten behind them, but they weren't even close to good. They were just garbage. And Lock Henry, that too wasn't sci-fi at all. It wasn't sci-fi. It was like a true crime kind of mystery. The only Black Mirror-ish thing about it was that the characters were filming a documentary. So it's like, I guess there's technology involved. So only 2 of the episodes, 2 out of the 5 actually felt like Black Mirror episodes. And even those were sort of average. So now Black Mirror's, unless they pull it together the next season in a few years, Black Mirror's going downhill.
Dunzo?
Yeah, unfortunately. It's, you know.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do.
Its best years might be behind it, unfortunately.
Yeah. As it goes with any show that goes on for way too long.
Yeah. Because Black Mirror's been on since, I think, 2011. I mean, that's a long time. It does not feel like it's been on that long, but.
Yeah, but it has. It's been on TV for a long time.
Yeah. I don't know. There aren't that many episodes, though. I think his name's Charlie Brooker that writes it. I don't think he should be running out of steam this quickly. So I don't know what's going on. If he's just trying to do things different, trying to do different things or what. And then my other movies that I rewatched The Raid 2. If you haven't seen the Raid movies, anyone out there who hasn't seen the Raid movies, if you like action, these are a must-see. These are fantastic martial arts films. We've mentioned them on the podcast before. They're Indonesian martial arts films. All the actors are doing their own stunts, their own martial arts. So every fight scene is just absolutely impeccable. Highly recommend to anyone who likes action or martial arts films. In preparation of the new Spider-Man Spider-Verse movie, excuse me, I rewatched Into the Spider-Verse.
You're out.
I'm struggling, man.
Yeah.
I rewatched Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. What a great film. What a great animated film. I love it. I forgot how great it was. It's great. It's one of the best Spider-Man movies, for sure. I watched for the first time a coming-of-age comedy dramedy type movie called Cha-Cha Real Smooth. I don't know if you've ever heard of this. No? It stars newcomer Cooper Raiff. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name close to being right. And then Dakota Johnson, Don Johnson's daughter, is co-starring. Pretty good.
How was that?
Yeah, pretty good. For me, it was like 7 out of 10. Decent coming-of-age film. Not the best one I've seen. Not the worst. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it. Give it a watch. It's definitely, more than I could say for a lot of movies. It made me think about my own life and those coming of age films, especially if you're a young person, they give you like hope, when you watch them just for the future. So, good stuff. And then I rewatched a far better coming of age film, called The Way, Way Back with, Toni Collette and Steve Carell.
You kind of watch that like every year.
Yeah, my family and I, we like to rewatch that every summer. So whenever we're all together in the summer, we might throw that movie on. But my uncle was in town visiting for a little while, so we wanted to show him that movie when he came around when we were visiting with him. So, but that's a great coming of age film. Highly recommend that to anyone who's looking for coming of age films to add that to their list. I watched Ray Romano's directorial debut, Somewhere in Queens. Ray Romano.
Yeah, that's the name of the movie.
Yeah, Somewhere in Queens. I didn't really like it. I thought it just could have been better. I gave it 2 stars.
He's already made an appearance in the podcast. Is that what you're gonna say?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I didn't think Somewhere in Queens was all that good. The premise is really interesting. It's basically this guy whose son, Ray Romano's character, his son gets broken up with by his girlfriend. And Ray Romano goes and basically tells the girlfriend, like, can you please just get back together with him for 3 weeks so he can make the college basketball team, and then you can just break up with him again, but he's in bad shape and like, yeah, and like offers to pay for her car or something like that. So you think like it's gonna be an interesting premise, but that whole storyline, they set it up like that's gonna be like the main plot of the movie, but that whole storyline lasts for like 15 minutes or like 20 minutes. And that part of the movie is great, but the rest of it is just a lot of pontificating. The whole movie is basically that in the middle, and then a really long prologue on one side, and on the other side a really long epilogue. Like it was kind of a drag to get through, just for me.
Yeah, yeah. Jake is
struggling,
dying in the middle of this episode.
And then finally, this past weekend. I was at a 4th of July party, and with a bunch of our friends, and after we kind of wound down and stopped drinking and the fireworks were over and everything, we were kind of winding down, and we wanted to throw on a movie, and we wanted to throw on something that was like nostalgic from our childhoods, and just get drunk and laugh and stuff. And I wanted to watch The Sandlot, okay? But I got voted out. I wanted to watch The Sandlot. That's a great 4th of July movie. I unfortunately, Edward, got voted out in favor of, or outvoted or whatever, in favor of Shark Tale. So I had to we had to watch that.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so it was nostalgic, but man, and even when I was a kid, I'd realized it. But man, Shark Tale is a shitty movie, man. Like that movie.
Yeah.
It's so try hard.
Aged horribly, the animation.
Oh, yeah. It's not even that. It's just the writing and everything. The jokes are the worst part of that movie. At no point in that movie is anything funny. It's the most try hard. Like they're trying so hard to be funny every 5 seconds, and nothing lands.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shark Tale's horrible, man. But it was kind of an interesting trip down memory lane. But
yeah.
And then let me see. I started watching the new season of Eric Andre.
Oh yeah, that's right. The new season.
Yeah, what's interesting is Hannibal Buress. He's actually in the first episode, but then he like quits the show in the middle of the first episode. Oh. Yeah. So yeah. So yeah, it was kind of sad, but anyway.
Yeah.
What can I say? Not much to say there. It's Eric Andre. It's fun. Yeah. Check it out.
Gotta check it out.
Yeah. And then, like I mentioned, I've been going through Kid Cudi's discography. I finished Kid Cudi's discography, and if you wanna know my opinion, the best Kid, if you're gonna come out and try to name the best Kid Cudi album, there are only 2 right answers in my book, and they are Man on the Moon 2 or Passion, Pain, and Demon Slaying.
I agree.
Yeah. Every other album I enjoy except for Speed and Bullet to Heaven. That's a rough album, man. I'm sorry. And I'm not sorry at all. And Indicud is really hard to get through.
I enjoy Indicud.
Really?
Yeah.
He raps too much on that album. There's like no singing or anything. I found it really boring.
Yeah.
I found the production really, really repetitive too. I don't know.
Yeah. There's some rough songs in there.
Yeah. I don't know.
But in terms of what the best albums are, that you and I are in the same page about that.
Okay, cool. Better be. And that's it, man. So let's get into the film.
Okay, let's get into the movie of the week, everybody. And this time, I guess in preparation to build up the hype a little bit of the upcoming Oppenheimer film by Christopher Nolan, we're watching Following, which I think is a movie that neither of us had seen. And I think this makes it so that I only have 2 Christopher Nolan movies that I've not seen, which are Insomnia and Tenet. I've not seen. But other than that, I've seen every movie. Now this is the one. But what did you make of following?
I really I enjoyed it, man. I thought it was a great. I thought it hit the just all the noir tropes really, really well. It did them well. It was really interesting. The premise, first of all, is just very interesting.
It is
just this writer sort of following people. Because as a writer, you get curious about people, man, and you want to know, you want to know about people. So this guy was actually obviously taking it too far and acting on those urges. I certainly don't go around stalking people, but
neither do I. Of course not. Not on Wednesdays, after all.
Yeah. But yeah, and I thought the twists and turns were really good. It just he very much captured that noir feel of just this descent into a web of just deceit and treachery and danger. He captured that really, really well.
I thought he did really good. Like this movie, like if you look it up, it does have like good reviews. So it's not like I was expecting this to be just like a really bad movie. But I went into this movie with like really low expectations, and like it did for you, I think like it grabbed me like really quickly because of that premise. Because it's like, oh, this is like, I don't know about you, but I've had that thought before of being like, oh man, this is something you could do, And it's interesting how he introduces it because it's just like, oh, I just started following people. It's like, oh, that's fascinating,
Yeah.
And obviously, there's like a level of relatability.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I just enjoy too. I really enjoy espionage in films. Whether it's hardcore espionage like James Bond or Mission Impossible, but I actually love like that kind of amateur espionage stuff. Just the like I love Rear Window. I love that's why I love like my favorite storyline in Better Call Saul is the whole like Lalo faking his death and then just stalking and spying on Gus. I love that shit because it's just like I love the like cat and mouse spying and espionage. That's No Country for Old Men. That's another great example of that. Just cat and mouse stalking, spying. I love that stuff, man. That stuff that stuff just gives me like butterflies. Where it's just like it's fun and suspenseful. So I loved it. But keep going because I gotta rest my voice as much as I can. Keep giving us your thoughts, Edward.
Well, that was the thing for me because I was like, oh, this is great. And interestingly enough, because at the very beginning of the film, we know that he's talking to somebody. He's like telling this story to somebody, and I completely forgot about that. Eventually, I was like, it just kind of left my mind. I was like, okay, that was just I guess the way that the movie was introducing like why this guy was doing what he was doing. And I completely forgot about that narration. But it was fascinating, and it was fascinating that then he meets this guy, and that, he's like at this cafe and the guy just comes up to him and he's like, hey, what are you doing? I love that confrontation between them. And it was so clear that he was like outclassed, that it's like, oh, you're just a little weirdo, and this guy is like on a whole nother level. And he completely just read right through him.
Oh yeah. The whole time,
and then it escalated.
Cobb is the smarter one the whole time. You're just like, Cobb.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This guy pulls the strings. Like the ending was no surprise. Yeah. I knew some version of that ending. No. I didn't see the ending coming, but I knew some version of Cobb winning was going to happen. Like in the end, Cobb getting what he wants.
Right. No, it always felt that way, and it always felt like he was in control, especially like he introduces him to the whole idea of just like going into people's apartments and stealing shit, which is like such a risky thing. It's just like, oh, like we're just going and stealing their personal belongings. We're not even stealing like the valuable things. And it's funny how they get caught. And they go like, we were here because we thought that there was a thing here. That this one was for sale. And then they just leave.
Real smooth.
But it was fascinating, But it was fascinating. Like it's interesting looking at this film and knowing what Christopher Nolan went on to do because it has elements of all those films. It has elements of like for sure it has elements of The Prestige, where it feels like he's just kind of trying to like pull over your eyes, It feels like Memento. Like it just like it just kind of makes you remember like all these other films that he made, and it feels like a version of all of those films is like there. Um, so it was very fascinating, and like you said, it always felt like he was building up to something with these two guys, where it's like, okay, clearly Cobb is kind of manipulating this guy, but we're still like rooting for him because he's not a horrible person.
Yeah.
Um, and the ending felt very kind of Christopher Nolan-ish. Felt like an Inception ending of like, oh, did you see
Oh
that
yeah.
coming? Yeah, it was all there.
The
I told
final
you how the movie
shot.
was gonna end, and it ended
Yeah.
how I told you. Yeah.
Exactly. Dude, the final shot was a masterpiece. Fucking chef's kiss.
Yes.
Amazing, dude.
Yeah.
How he just disappears in,
Yeah.
in the crowd. The way
Yeah.
that was shot. A freaking
Yeah. I rewatched
cinematic
that.
titan in the making just from that one
Yeah.
shot. This is Christopher Nolan. Like that shot, it was like Christopher Nolan's on his fucking way to the top, man. That was
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I rewatched that because I felt the exact same way. Like the exact same way. I was like, oh, that was amazing. I was like, that was great. I was
Dude,
like,
that was one of the
was
best.
literally like the perfect way of doing that.
Yeah, that was one of the best. We always talk about villain entrances in films, but that was one of the best villain exits ever in films. We don't
Yeah.
have to talk about villain
Yeah.
exits,
Yeah.
but that actually made me think, and it's going to continue to make me think more about the art of the exit of a character.
Yeah. And what's awesome too about it? That somehow that actor lived it. Because that dude has not been in a single movie since then.
Cobb,
Yeah.
wow, and he was so great. The hell happened to
Yeah.
him? Disappeared in the crowd, man.
I don't know. Yeah, he literally did, and that it's fascinating. Us talking about it and talking about how brilliant that was, because that actor literally did what the character did. Like the character disappeared, the guy disappeared, never to be on anything again. It's very fascinating. I think the lady in the apartment that like comes into the apartment and they're like, oh, we were here because we thought this apartment was for sale. I think that lady went on to be Christopher Nolan's wife, if she wasn't his wife at the time.
Oh, okay.
There's like a little tidbits of the making of things. And obviously Cobb was the last name of DiCaprio's character in Inception.
He wait, say that one more time. Cobb was the last name of DiCaprio's character in Inception.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
There's
That's a nice little bit of
a little bit
trivia.
of an Inception. Yes.
Yeah, right.
Nice little bit of trivia. But so far, like I really enjoyed this film, and I thought it was very simple, very enjoyable. I liked that it was a short film too. It was very short, it's like an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, it was a breeze, man. It was a
But
breeze.
but it makes me excited for Oppenheimer and what's to come. But what do you think? What would you rate this film? What are your overall thoughts about it?
Yeah. And I wish I want to say there's more I want to say. I really would love to give like a more in-depth review, but my voice, my throat's this way.
I know.
Every time I try to talk,
I
it's just
know.
like it starts tickling. Like that's the worst feeling ever. It's not crapping out on me right now. I would give following probably either an 8 or a 7. I can't really decide.
Yeah, I think I would give it a 7.
Yeah, I'd probably give it a
'Cause
7 too. I think it's a little like low. It's a no budget. I mean, he made it for $6,000 from his
Yeah,
own salary,
$6,000. Yeah,
which is I'd probably say 7. Because it didn't. It wasn't quite an 8 where it was like, wow, I really liked that.
No.
It's like
no,
it was
'cause
somewhere in the
really,
middle.
It really
of,
didn't elevate.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it really never really elevated itself to that level, Because
No.
I thought it was clunky, like you said. Like it did feel a little bit amateur. Like to me, the very beginning, like the first like 20 minutes of this movie were like really great, and then I think it struggled in the middle. I really do. I think it struggled in the middle. Some sequences were like not great, like the hammer sequence when that guy came in and he was like with his
No.
pants down, just taping the money on himself. Like that scene wasn't great. The music was really good in this movie, by the way. I thought the music was actually pretty great. Um, and and even though like Christopher Nolan thought that he did a kind of like a sleight of hand, the ending was a little bit predictable. Where you're like, okay, I kind of know where this is going, like you said, but ultimately how it unfolded, and specifically those last few shots that we talked about, were amazing. So it really isn't
Incredible.
like a 6, but it's not an 8. I think he just did like a really good job, and I would definitely watch the movie just for the fuck of it. It just feels like such a nice like film lovers like movie.
Yeah. Yeah, and also I think another, a good sort of, let's say, symptom of the notion that this film didn't quite elevate itself to a certain level of greatness is the fact that while I was watching it, it made me want to watch films of its kind that are better. Like particularly Blood
Right.
Simple. This movie was very similar
Right.
to Blood Simple, where there was just a lot of like different characters double crossing each other. And I was like, man, I want to watch Blood Simple. And it made me think like Blood Simple is so much better than this movie. Like Blood Simple's not Blood Simple, because I give Blood Simple a 9, so Blood Simple has to at least be 2 points better than this movie.
It's interesting because I gave Blood Simple a 7, I think. So maybe this movie should be a 6, or maybe just like a very light 7. Obviously you can't differentiate these things on Letterboxd. But you
Simple
enjoyed that movie
7,
more than I did. You enjoyed
blasphemy.
Blood Simple more than I did.
Definitely. Blood Simple's awesome.
I need to rewatch that movie. Yeah.
Blood Simple's better than
Yeah.
Fargo, man. Dude, the movie Fargo gets all this praise, man. Blood Simple's better, I think.
I really like Fargo. I think I probably should rewatch those movies. They're both short movies. Maybe I should rewatch them and see what I think. But I remember that we watched Blood Simple like in theaters, and even then, like it didn't make that big of an impact on me. So maybe I should watch that again.
Yeah. I think the first time,
And it's
honestly,
been long
like,
enough.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think Blood Simple's quite a bit better than Fargo. However, I will say the first season of the show Fargo, fucking awesome. 10 out of 10.
Okay.
Amazing. Just wanted to throw out
Yeah.
that out there for our listeners in case they haven't seen the Fargo TV series. Check it out. Fucking awesome.
Yeah. Well, sir, all of that being said, do you have a film for us for next week?
I do actually. So the film. That
Oh,
I
look at
just-
that. All right.
Yeah. So, the film that I have for next week is it's another very film lovers film. It gets a lot of love in various film, social media, communities. I promise we're almost done, everybody. You'll stop having to hear me cough. I'm like hanging on by a thread. I'm like, we're almost there. We're almost there. But the film that I have picked for us for next week is going to be hold on. What country is it? The Danish film Another Round, starring Mads Mikkelsen.
Oh wow, I've been meaning to see that. Is that the one directed by Vinterberg, Thomas Vinterberg?
Correct. Yep.
All right.
So that's it. Next week, folks, we are going to
Well,
get hammered and watch Another Round.
so this is gonna be a great one for us. I'm excited for this. Yeah, we'll make it a. I feel like for this one we can go back into our old nightmare stories from work.
Yeah.
Because I think it could probably work well with that. Because I think it deals with that too for those guys. So
Yeah.
it'll be a fun time, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, same here. All right, well, my voice is about to crap out completely, so next time, everybody, next time on Film Tangents.
Next time on Full Time is wrap. See you.